So we're gonna give it a couple seconds, make sure it's capturing everything appropriately. This is the first little episode of what will hopefully be one of like a couple podcasts we do. This one especially I've been looking forward to. So
yeah, I would definitely say we were excited to jump on and just talk about random things.
Oh yeah, random things, but for right now we're talking about the wacky wild world of Warhammer 40k.
So we should probably give context, because we've already done this before. I don't know very much about Warhammer. I don't understand very much about the lore. Wolf here has told me a whole bunch, and honestly, I'm interested. I love everything so far I've been told, but like, I've also been explained that there's so much lore that it's going to have to be explained to me in sections for me to understand, and that is where Wolf comes in. And so he's going to be explaining me, I'll be asking questions back, and we're just, basically it's a conversation between us two for the podcast, and if anybody else wants to listen in, kind of understand the lore, especially from his point of view, it's very helpful for them as well.
Alright, so two things to point out there. Number one, if you hear the audio kind of going in and out, that's because we're trying to use Discord. I may try and start investigating into like other software that we can use to try and capture the audio in a more consistent manner. But in the meantime, Discord is a nice, easy one to use. It's available, and we're going to stick with it until we have like a better alternative that we're agreeing to. Second,
yeah, I agree with that.
Second, what you said about the lore being large, oh my god. So you know how in like Star Wars it'll take up like an entire bookshelf in a library with all the novels and comics?
Yeah.
That kind of thing would be utterly dwarfed by the content of Warhammer.
I already know I'm gonna get over my head, but I'm so excited.
Everyone gets in over their head when they first start off, and honestly, I had no idea what in the hell Warhammer was when I first started watching videos about it, and then it took like almost an entire year for me to get enough of an idea to realize that, yeah, this is pretty cool.
So we might as well just name the podcast Professional Teaches Noob.
Oh, on that note, and brilliant segue I might add, Reaper and I were talking about what to name the podcast. I've narrowed it down to a couple ideas. I'll leave them in the description. That way we can, because I have some ideas about which ones would be really interesting to have, which would allow us to stand out. But I'm also going to suggest that anyone who wants to weigh in and is watching this, go ahead, leave it down in the comments below what you think of with this list. So the list will be in the description, so go check that out.
Okay. And the other thing I also want to say is we're not just going to do podcasts based on just Warhammer. So we'll have two separate podcasts, one for Warhammer, and then we're going to do just a random podcast where it's just questions, things in life, just random things that normally people would just talk randomly about in podcasts. And that'll be a different podcast. This one is specifically for Warhammer.
Which, considering what you were talking about with how big the universe is, it's understandable. It kind of needs its own little space in order to be cohesive.
Yeah, it's like, here, let me tell you what I know about Warhammer. Heavy Flamer, Blood for the Blood God, the Orcs, and everybody hates what are those creatures? The
Tyranids?
What were the one? Yeah, everyone hates those. And the last one that I know is the Emperor text-to-speech.
So you have some memes in mind to understand this, and one of those things actually does kind of relate to the group that I wanted to talk to you about first, in order to kind of really get your interest in, to really get that hook in your mind, and that is the followers of one of the Chaos Gods. So that whole Blood for the Blood God thing. So I should give some context about that.
Okay.
So in the Warhammer universe, I should talk about the setting first. The Warhammer universe takes place in the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy. Specifically in the 41st millennia.
Okay.
So yeah, 38,000 years in our future is the setting that Warhammer takes place.
Well, I'm glad to know that I won't be a part of it.
Now, another really important thing in the 40k universe is called the Immaterium. So, the Immaterium, or the Warp, as it's more commonly called, is important for a number of reasons, and it's a bunch of different things kind of wrapped into one. The Warp is important because it's how a lot of the races achieve faster than light travel. You know how in most sci-fi universes they have like warp drives that allow them to beat that speed of light limitation?
Yeah, it's the concept of taking a straight line and making it flat. You know, getting one point to another without actually having to go the full distance.
Pretty much. The Warp, because to quote one of my favorite YouTubers in regards to Warhammer, the Warp is essentially an enormous middle finger to physics.
Oh god. And I want to teach physics class. That's what I'd love to keep in mind.
So here's what I mean by that. So the viewers can't see this, but I'm holding up my hands maybe like an inch apart. In the Warp, my hands are an inch apart. They're also a millimeter apart. And they're also a million light years apart at the same time.
Okay, so you said the concept of physics is basically irrelevant.
Exactly.
In the Warp.
Yeah. Space does not exist in as we understand it. Time is moving forwards, backwards, and standing still all at the same time. There's even... Okay. There are times when people will go into the Warp, and they'll be in there for like 1,000 years. They'll come out, see the guys around them that were there when they left, like, what happened, boss? You were only gone for like 10 seconds.
Oh god, that would be such a weird feeling. Like you live your say you like live your life for 100 years, and then you just pop out of somewhere and it's been like an hour.
There's even a story with a character from one faction who went into the Warp, came out, met his younger self, killed his younger self, so that he could get another one of his favorite guns.
What? Okay. Okay, so I can't get it here. Let me take a quick trip going back here. It's like, wow, you look like me. Yeah, I'm taking that with me.
The thing is, I know people who are watching this and who know this faction immediately know exactly the story I'm talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, in the Warp, you basically enter in, and so long as you have someone who understands how to navigate through the Warp, they can basically, it's not as chaotic and wild as I made it out to be. There is degrees of predictability, but when you go into the Warp, you go for what feels like 5,000 meters. You come out of the Warp, you travel 5 million light years. It's almost like nether travel in Minecraft.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like you put infinite on Minecraft, but in reality, it's like the moment wherever you use the cheat to just teleport yourself a certain amount of blocks.
But yeah, so a lot of races use the Warp to achieve FTL travel.
Okay.
So that's the first reason why it's important. The second reason why it's important, the Warp is described in some cases as an enormous ocean of psychic energy.
Okay.
So everything in the galaxy that has a soul has a connection to that Warp.
Okay.
So you remember in text-to-speech when Magnus is talking to his dad about the Warp?
Yeah. Then they keep going back and forth saying, "You piece of shit nugget, you don't even listen to me."
Pretty much, but Magnus was talking about how the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of people in the galaxy affect the Warp, and that's true. There are people who have a stronger connection to that Warp, and as a result, they can take that energy, channel it through their minds with their willpower, and manifest it as interesting effects in the real world.
So basically, like psychics in a sense.
Psychics, yeah. It's basically space magic. And this the manifested powers can be something as boring and simple as shooting a lightning bolt out of your face.
Yeah, because that's boring and simple.
Compared to a lot of the other shit, it is very pedantic.
It's like, yeah, let me just shoot, millions of volts of electricity out of my eyeballs. Oh, but that's simple.
Pretty much. I mean,
God, what have I got myself into?
I mean, there are cases where someone will, by like complete accident, light someone else on fire with ethereal flames.
It's like, hey Dad, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
And Stop, Drop, and Roll is not helping with these ones.
It's just, he died. How? Just instantaneous combustion.
But yeah.
How?
But yeah, so those psychers are also needed for the navigation that I was talking about.
Okay.
They're able to actually navigate through the warp if they're trained to do so.
Okay, so basically, with the psychic energy, they have the ability to travel through, basically like kind of mapping their own way through the warp, is what you're stating.
Yeah, basically they can understand how to travel the warp if they receive the proper training. There's actually an entire cluster of people in the Imperium of Man called the Navis Nobility, who are specifically like families of noble psychers who are trained like from birth to be able to do this. They're like a sanctioned mutation.
Okay, I got you. I'm following now.
So yeah, more advanced versions of psychic abilities are like astropaths, who are able to like send their thoughts into the warp and then have it be received by another person on like the other side of the galaxy.
God, that's... I mean, I understood like Warhammer was like crazy, but this is just insane.
Yeah, it is madness. It is utter madness, and that's part of the fun. But that also brings us to the third reason the warp is so important. And it's also the reason why the warp is such a big problem. See, the warp is also kind of its own individual dimension. You might know it.
So it's like... It's basically like a pocket dimension, kind of like how Marvel and all these other things. It's a pocket dimension. It's its own little thing. It's a disconnect from our actual world.
It's a parallel universe of sorts.
Okay, and I'm understanding.
Okay, you might know this realm more. You might know this realm somewhat. You might call it Hell.
Really? That's what they call the warp?
Well, that's not what they call it. They don't call it that. Most people don't really know about this in the Warhammer universe. But yeah, the warp is a realm that is occupied by a bunch of creatures called Neverborn, more commonly known as demons.
Okay, so now some of the text-to-speech stuff is starting to make sense.
Yeah. So yeah, Neverborn or demons are the denizens of the warp, and they are the creation / subject of the 4 major chaos gods.
Okay, I think I do remember, because of course, like I said, I have experienced some of this. I do remember the chaos gods. I remember some of them in particular, mainly because of text-to-speech kind of gave me some of the information. And if I remember correctly, Magnus was tricked by one of them, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that whole blood for the blood god is in relation to one of these chaos gods, specifically the war god Khorne. He's not the subject of this video, but yes, the Magnus got tricked by the god of tricks, magic, and deception known as Tzeentch.
Yeah.
The other 2 chaos gods are basically the god of excess and debauchery, known as Slaanesh. But the focus of today's video is of the oldest, actually not the oldest, one of the older of the Chaos Gods, I think. I got mixed up with Khorne. So, Khorne is the War God. Today's subject is Nurgle, the Plague Father. So, two final things that you need to know before we get too far into Warhammer. Number one, okay, so these are two phrases that you need to keep in mind when it comes to Warhammer. The first and most important of them: no matter how bad things are, no matter how shit the situation, it can always get worse.
Sorry. Okay, no matter how bad things are, it can always get worse.
Exactly. The other one that you need to know is that there's no such things as good guys in this universe.
That's the thing good guys. Yeah, that's right. I'm here to purge heretics and steal your property.
I came here to steal your shit and burn you assholes. And I've already stolen your shit. But yes, so today's subject is...
This is going to be so much fun, I can already tell.
Oh yeah. So, let me go ahead and make sure that everything is recording properly. Yep, everything is recording so far so good. Excellent. So, let's get into the jolly old grandfather, shall we?
Alright. Go ahead, fire away, my friend.
Alright, so let me go ahead. Where is he? Hold on. Let me go ahead and pull up a picture of our... Do I not have a picture of him? Holy shit. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up a picture of the jolly old grandfather and give you an idea of why this guy is such, so devastating. So let me go ahead. I thought I had saved a picture of this guy. Apparently not. You've seen images of him before, I think, especially in text-to-speech.
Is he the big green one?
Yes.
He's like really fat and green.
Yeah, he's chunky.
He chunky boy.
He's kind of thick.
Kugoth, the Plague Father. Is that how you say it? Kugoth or Kigoth?
That is one of the characters, yes.
Ugh.
So let me go ahead and share the screen. Here we go.
It's almost as bad as some of the patients you have to see sometimes in the hospital. Oh my god. Dude, you need to lose like 5,000 pounds.
Yes. So yeah, this is Nurgle. This is the Plague Father. This is the Lord of Decay. And Nurgle, as you might remember from text-to-speech, is all about rot, disease, death, but he's also about like life, rebirth, and nature.
So basically he's the concept of balance of life and death.
He's kind of like, yeah, he's basically cycles. That's his whole thing. He's all about being the guy who's all about cycles and nothing really changing from those cycles.
So it's his fault.
I don't know if it's his fault, but he's certainly gotten pretty chunky. He's certainly gotten a bit of power from it, that's for sure. Now, as for why I wanted to talk about him in regards to getting you interested, allow me to show you what plague zombies look like.
Oh, so this is what you wanted to show me.
Yes. So, because I know how much of a fan of zombies you are, this is the reason why I wanted to start with Nurgle, to really kind of hook your interest. Nurgle is all about the rot, all about the decay, all about that nastiness.
Okay.
And it is actually pretty interesting, to be honest. He is all about that rot, all about the decay, all about that stagnation.
Alright.
Now, he is kind of interesting as far as Chaos Gods go, in that he actually seems to give a shit about his followers. See, yeah, most of the other Chaos Gods don't really give too much of a shit about their followers, their well-being, or their interests. None of that matters.
Why does he care?
See, Nurgle, I don't know why he cares per se, but I think it's more because he takes a much more personal investment in the mortal realm.
Oh, well, that makes sense, because if his chaos has to do with the concept of life and death, then, if one of his subjects were to destroy the balance in which he is going for, that would go against his own wishes.
Well, it's more along the lines of Nurgle is just like a generally jolly old man. He generally kind of regards his followers as like his grandchildren, his children in the immaterial and material realms.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So the big thing with Nurgle is that he lives in an area of the realm of chaos that is just all kinds of swamps, all kinds of decaying gardens. He's always at a giant-ass cauldron where he's mixing up new diseases, and then once he's finished a disease, he basically upends his cauldron into the mortal realm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Oh, yes!
Sounds like he's just like, hey, I'm gonna set up shop on Dagobah and just deal with it.
So yeah, if Nurgle is behind COVID, it came from that cauldron.
Ugh. No, it wasn't the bats. Got it.
Beyond that, he has a couple interesting things in his realm. Specifically, a captured goddess.
And that goddess is...
when we talk about the Eldar, basically the space elves, I can touch more upon this. So, her name is Isha. And
Isha.
Yeah, she's the goddess of life, fertility, basically like all like these really important things of life and fertility. Basically like, yeah, just that, of the Eldar. See, when Slaanesh burst her way onto the stage, Slaanesh started devouring the Eldar gods. I think you can kind of imagine that Isha begging for help would have probably might have preferred at this point to have been eaten. But now she's stuck in Nurgle's garden, constantly being fed the diseases that he makes before he releases them.
God damn, that's horrifying.
And because she is like the goddess of life and regeneration and such, she's able to heal
die.
Yeah. But the moment that she's recovered, she then whispers into the minds of mortals, teaching them how to create the cures for Nurgle's diseases.
So basically he has created his own double-edged sword.
Pretty much. So in the text-to-speech episodes, you'll sometimes find these bits where they're almost like in a chat room.
Yeah.
Yeah, Isha is there.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
She's basically in the text-to-speech series, like acting like Nurgle's wife.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nurgle himself, he's an interesting, jolly old fellow, but he is still a chaos god, and his little sphere of influence is not something you want to fuck with.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Most people don't, until they get infected with some really nasty diseases. See, when they get infected by like the debilitating and disfiguring diseases, Nurgle will sometimes like whisper in their ear like, hey, pledge yourself to me and I'll take away the pain.
I'll take away the pain, but you're gonna still be deformed.
Exactly.
Oh, what a bitch.
Oh, in its own way though, it is kind of preferable, because let's face it, if you're stuck in a situation where you're just like writhing in agony as boils and blisters just form all over you, pledging yourself to a god that basically promises that you will not feel any pain ever, it's kind of worth it.
Yeah, I think if I was at that point, saving one bullet for me at that point.
So, on that note, there is a war chant sung by a kind of demons called Plague Bearers. And this war chant is honestly one of the first things that I ever heard of in regards to Warhammer. The war chant goes, Bugos, phlegm, blood and guts, boils, bogies, rot and pus, blisters, fevers, weeping, sores, from your wounds the fester pours.
Wow.
So let me go ahead and see. I'm pretty sure I got a plague bearer in here. Here we go. So imagine that being sung by these.
What we got here? Oh no.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. It's still waiting for me.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Massacre. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, that is gross.
And that's a fair. This is considered like the regular foot soldier of Nurgle's army. This.
Okay, wait. Just out of context. So I understand that the Space Marines are much. What are they, like 10 feet or something like that?
About 7-8 feet on average.
Okay. How tall is this thing?
This is probably about the size of an average human.
Okay, so it's probably like, say, 5'10" to 6 foot.
Around there.
Okay. That's not as bad. Not as bad as I was thinking. I looked at this and I'm like, this thing's gotta be like 12 feet tall.
No, likely not.
God damn! I gotta give some credit though to the artist. Like, this is beautiful.
It is really nice.
But at the same time, incredibly horrifying.
Oh yeah, Nurgle is without a doubt. I think that he's the second most visibly horrifying chaos god in regards to his subjects.
Ooh. I'm glad I don't live in this world.
Yeah.
You know those things where it's like, if you could live in any video game world, what would it be? This is not the one.
No. You get to live in the last world of the video game you played in, Warhammer 40k. I'm good, fam. I'm good. I am all good.
It's like a lit alright, here's that bullet I was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
So, on that note, I wish to show you, because you were talking about the Space Marines, let me show you the Plague Marines real quick. So, yeah.
Plague Marine. Hang on a second. I'm opening it up. Let's see. Still taking a second for it.
Yeah.
So you said it's called the Plague Marine?
Yes.
He has seen better days,
to say the least. So for viewers watching, I would normally just like drag and drop images into Discord, but for some reason our Discord does not like that. But yeah, this is a Plague Marine.
Jesus.
Nasty looking fellow.
He still has the bolter with him?
Oh yeah. He a nasty looking fellow, isn't he?
Ugh.
Like you can see on his abdomen that the battle plate he's worn has decayed and rotted. His guts have bloated and they're like about ready to burst.
Yeah. Jesus.
He a nasty fellow, ain't he?
Yeah. So wait, is this like... So you're saying this is basically what happens to a space marine when they've been infected by the god?
This is what happens when a space marine becomes a Nurgle worshipper.
Okay, so this is whenever they become deformed to become a worshipper. This is what they turn into. God damn.
Yeah, it's kind of like I fall to Nurgle and then I get infected with all these kind of diseases, or I get infected with a bunch of nasty diseases that, because I'm a space marine, I'm super tough, I can't die from. This hurts. Nurgle, help me.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
But at that point, can I say this? At that point, would you no longer be under the oath of the Emperor?
The thing is, with the oath, any kind of oath to the Emperor, he doesn't have your soul. So any oath you have to him is very much like a Game of Thrones style honor thing.
Okay, I want to say that was a good analogy.
Yeah. Think of how many times in Game of Thrones people make an oath to someone, and then like immediately the moment that person turns, we're like, fuck you.
Let me see. I can't count it on one hand.
You need the hands of... You need both your hands and the hands of every member of your family and extended family. But yeah, so in regards to Nurgle, the thing that needs to be known is that he has a lot of interesting demons, and all of them tend to have the same kind of motif, the same kind of aesthetic. They are decaying, they are bloated, they are just rotting, shambling masses. Like, one of the most powerful of them, I'll show you the model of him first. Actually, I'll show you the model second. I'll show you the art first. So this is a demon known as a Great Unclean One.
You know, I'm gonna say he looks like Ganon from fucking Legend of Zelda, but he had a really bad day.
Oh yeah. So Great Unclean Ones. Now I'm not sure exactly how big the Great Unclean Ones are, but what I do think is that they're like much bigger than like the Plague Bearers. So in all likelihood, a Plague Bearer would be at most maybe half this thing's height.
Jesus.
Now the reason...
massive.
Oh yeah. So let me go ahead and just try and cycle through to it. Where is it? Damn it. It's not here. Okay. Let me find... Here it is. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. Alright. So, I'm going to try and just drop this into Discord and see whether or not you can see it there.
Hang on a second. Let me see if it shows up.
Yeah, so if this basically disconnects us, we'll try and pick up where we left off. So, you ready for me to drop it?
Hang on. I'm froze.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me though?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, give it 1 second. It's probably just taking a second to load up.
Yeah.
To all the viewers, I do apologize. Unfortunately, like he said, with our situation currently, especially with our internet, it's kind of difficult for things to basically work all together and change them. Okay, I got back to Discord. Can you go ahead and did you drop the image or no?
I didn't drop it because, let's face it, this is definitely not something I want to fuck with. So I just dropped it in Paint to show you this.
Hang on. Okay. Oh, man!
Very vibrant, isn't it?
Yeah, vibrant isn't the word I would use, but yeah, we can go with that.
He a chunky boy. He is taken after his granddaddy.
Yeah, holy shit.
So,
You know, it looks like Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas decided to, not clean himself.
Ever.
God damn, that is horrifying.
So, here's the thing about this. So, In regards to the models, the scaling between them is not always like 1-to-1. So, in all likelihood, they basically downsized his model so it would actually fit on the table. But that
down here at the bottom, you see there's a little guy on his right foot.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be the scale that old you just showed me?
No, this is an even smaller one. I don't remember their name. I'll pull up their data sheets and see if I can't find their name. But yeah, I would imagine that those are basically like, at most, they're about half the size of a human, maybe a little bit more.
Oh god.
But here's the thing. You see that base he's standing on?
Yeah.
So that's a 13 centimeter wide base.
Okay.
He's about as tall as his base is wide. You see that?
Yeah.
So he's about like 5 or so inches. And because of how Games Workshop does its scaling, I can only imagine that they kind of downsized him a little bit so he would actually like fit on the table.
Yeah, you know it's bad when it's a downside character that's keeping and choking.
But yeah. So I would imagine that in all likelihood, a Space Marine might like come up to its hip. You know, if you could find the hip.
Yeah. That is where you can find it, you know, just dig in there, try to find that.
I would not advise digging in that. That's a lot of soft, rotting tissue.
Yeah, probably wouldn't touch it either, just saying.
You would go trying to dig for the hip and your hand would just like slide right into the flesh. It'd be like a giant pile of just rotting, foul-smelling pudding.
Oh god, it's just like, yo bro, you need to clean yourself.
I'm fairly certain you even spritz clean water in his direction, it'll just melt him.
Just spray some chlorine. There's just chlorine water on him. Yeah, I'm just gonna spray it with it. Actually, no, get the fucking bleach out. Just spray it with like a bleach water bottle.
But yeah, so Great Unclean Ones, they are demons that are so powerful that in the lore, if you leave them alone, their mere presence, the fact that they're just there, will cause like infection to spread. The very land will become rotting.
Okay, that is absolutely fucking terrifying.
Oh, it gets a lot worse. Remember that phrase.
Okay, let's continue.
So,
it's like at some point you gotta sit to yourself and just be like, how did it get here? You know, like how did they go from this to this?
I'm fairly certain that this is also the same thought that this corrupted guardsman had.
Look at that belly.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
So as you can see, this guy is definitively warped, mutated, and most definitively not a human anymore.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. He's definitely not human anymore.
And this is like one of the best case scenarios that can happen to you if you fall to Nurgle.
If the fact that you just said that's best case scenario, yeah, no, I'll take that extra bullet for myself.
Because remember, there are still the plague zombies. You can always become a plague zombie.
I'm gonna take that bullet.
That's probably preferable, yeah. But honestly, the absolute best case scenario is if you were like a plague marine, if you were a space marine who turned to Nurgle, because then you would become like super fucking tough.
God dang.
The absolute top tier best case scenario for any mortal being in regards to like chaos and especially the chaos gods is to be ascended to demon prince status.
Okay.
So basically, every single demon is essentially a little shard, a little sliver of their patron god's soul. Their patron god like pinched off a little bit of their soul, molded it like Play-Doh, and then that little thing became whatever demon they created, and they let it loose into the world.
Okay, so it's kind of like a Horcrux from Harry Potter.
Kind of like that, only instead of like dividing yourself in halves, you're just like cutting away little tiny slivers of yourself, and I'm talking like minuscule. Like
it's like I'm just gonna chip at this little sculpture, and that little piece that flies up. That's it every single time.
You remember Monsters Inc. from Pixar?
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember how they shredded the door and he kept onto that like splinter?
Yeah.
Think like the minuscule splinter of that splinter. And that's like a plague bear, the big rotting guy with his organs hanging out.
Oh god.
So that should give you an idea of how massively powerful their patron god is.
Yep. I am following. I will say I'm extremely overwhelmed already. Like, god damn. I mean, you've only talked about one god, and I'm already sitting here like, oh my god, there's so much to it. Like, I knew what I was getting myself into. But at the same time, I was like, you know, I don't know if this is a simple thing. Absolutely not. There is no simplicity to anything in Warhammer.
That's kind of the fun of it. Like, it is a full-on job just to keep track of some of the lore that comes around, especially with the retcons that Games Workshop likes to do.
Oh god.
But yeah, so a Demon Prince. So a Demon Prince is essentially what happens when you take a mortal being and a patron god gives them like a sliver of their power, and they undergo this apotheosis into not necessarily a god, but like not like an Olympian god, but like one of the minor gods that was running around at the time as well. Kind of like
like a demigod?
Like a demigod, but like one step above them.
So in between demigod and god.
Like more like in between demigod and Olympian. Somewhere in between there.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like a minor, very, very, very minor god.
Okay.
So that's usually like the best case scenario that can ever happen to a mortal who gives themselves to chaos.
Alright, I see what you're saying.
They're pretty much immortal. Like full on immortal. So long as their god does not decide to say yoink to that power that made them a demon prince.
It's like, yeah, you see that there? I'm just gonna take that back.
So
later.
So this is actually something I had to bring up to someone's attention. You know how in Doom, if you run up to a demon, especially like a small demon, you point a shotgun at its head, pull the trigger, and the demon will be dead, like full on dead?
Yeah.
If you were to do that to a small demon in Warhammer, you would splatter its brain like all over the surrounding area, sure. Its body would disappear, and then depending on how powerful it was, that demon, let's call him Steve, will go back into the warp, reform, and out comes Steve to harass you again.
That is so unfair.
I think there are only two ways to really fully kill a demon in Warhammer.
Okay.
The first of them being that their patron god has to say yoink to that power and just reabsorb them because they are basically like splinters of their soul.
Okay.
The second one, and I'm not entirely sure on this one myself, the Emperor, his sword, that is currently in the possession of Rabute Gilliman, apparently can give, from what I've heard, true death to demons.
Okay. So basically what you're telling me is there's absolutely no way to actually kill a demon.
By and large, no.
Okay.
Which is what makes the Death Guard such a tricky thing to deal with.
Oh! Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about, but just to put it into context, tell me again.
So the Death Guard were one of the original legions of Space Marines who turned traitor during the Heresy, but these ones were like the ones that went to Nurgle.
Okay.
Yeah. So if a player were to try and play Chaos, they could choose to go like unaligned. They can just be like, I'm not following any Chaos God, I'm just serving Chaos as a whole. Or they can follow one of the four major gods.
Okay.
If they were to follow one of the four major gods, they can then go like a couple routes from there. They could go like a demon army, which has like the Great Unclean One, the Plague Bearers. You might be able to finagle some plague zombies out of there if you wanted to. But the other option is every single Chaos God has a Space Marine faction that belongs to him.
Wait, what?
So when those Space Marine legions turned traitor, 4 of them ended up literally going to belong to one of the Chaos Gods.
Okay.
So for example, Khorne, the War God, got the World Eaters, the super crazy berserker blood kill guys.
Okay.
The Thousand Sons, the nerdy psyker army, went to Tzeentch because nerds.
Okay, yeah, I can call that one.
The perfectionist Thousand Sons under the Primarch Fulgrim. This fucking pretty boy, let me tell you. It was no surprise that he ended up falling to the god of debauchery.
Makes sense. But what about for the Plague?
The Plague Father, he got the Death Guard, and it was a match made in putrid heaven.
Okay. So the Death Guard became part of his group.
Yeah, the Death Guard basically pledged themselves to Nurgle. Occasionally you'll get the odd Marine from like another organization who was loyal, got turned or got otherwise against the Imperium and basically went to Nurgle, but that's not too common. Most of the Marines that are servants of Nurgle are Death Guard.
Okay. This is a lot. I'm just really surprised that there's so much to it, honestly.
Oh yeah. So this is what we're talking about in this video. This is sort of like something that would probably come like further down the line in most podcasts, but I wanted to go with this one because I knew you liked zombies. So I figured that talking about the group, the faction that actually has zombies, would probably be a nice way to get your attention hooked.
Yeah, I mean, my attention's pretty hooked. I was just really surprised at how much there is.
Oh yeah, there is so much. Warhammer 40k, I believe, kind of got started in like the 90s, and it's had like 30 years. Hundreds of writers, over a half dozen editions and updates to their codexes. There is a shit ton of lore about everyone.
It's like I'm gonna be like sleeping just one day. Plague Guard, zombies,
But yeah,
real world.
So
it's like Warhammer just in my brain all the time.
It happens to the best of us. But
right.
Yeah, so the thing about actually, I remembered why I had my headphones in. We were having some kind of basically we were having my microphone picking up my speakers, and that's why I had these on last time. So let me get these on real quick.
Okay.
Alright, so it's probably been an issue for a while, but now it should be not an issue as much. Okay, can you still hear me?
Okay. Yep, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So, the Death Guard. So, you know about how the Emperor, when he was about to launch his Great Crusade, he created his 20 demigod sons?
Yeah.
So yeah, 20 demigod sons. The Chaos Gods did not like the idea of the Emperor going around and undermining what they were doing, so they scooped up the Primarchs, scattered them across the galaxy. Some of them landed on really nice worlds. Mortarion, the Primarch of the Death Guard, did not. So Mortarion, he landed on a world called Barbarous.
Okay.
Okay, so you know how Hong Kong and a lot of the Chinese cities are kind of memed about for having like terrible pollution?
Yeah.
That is like fresh, clean spring air compared to the nicest weather on Barbarous.
Oh dear Lord.
Dear Emperor.
To the Emperor.
So Barbarous had this thing where basically all the really toxic stuff in the air would rise up. So that meant like the valleys and such were relatively clear. But the higher up you went, the more toxic it became, until eventually you got to an elevation where your skin would just melt off.
Ugh.
I would imagine that this would be like at sea level.
Double ew.
And it gets worse.
Don't say to that.
And it gets worse the higher up you go.
Oh god.
So on Barbarous, there were basically two separate groups. There was the normal people who lived in the valleys, and they were constantly being harassed, captured, and otherwise tormented by the second group, basically a whole bunch of psyker necromancer fuckers.
Okay, the psychic necromancers.
Yeah, the psychers.
They're still a part of. Are they a part of specific Chaos God?
No, they weren't even worshippers of chaos.
Oh, okay. That's what confused me after saying that the planet was made of worshippers for chaos.
No. They were just a whole bunch of really sadistic, fucked up psychers.
Okay.
Off to a great start. It was on this.
Off to a great start. Everyone's fucking batshit crazy.
So basically, the normal people that lived in the valleys were constantly being preyed upon by the necromancers, because the necromancers wanted to capture them, experiment on them, torment them, and otherwise just really make their lives miserable, as you do.
Okay.
Well, one day, like the boss necromancer, like the king of Barbarous, was going around, and he hears something. He hears the wailing of a baby. He follows it, and he finds this pale-ass baby sitting on like a pile of corpses in an environment that should have killed it.
Okay, so basically, live baby, corpses, should be dead, isn't dead.
Okay, so the corpses were probably like corpses that he made into corpses, so... But the thing was, this baby, the toxins in the air, should have killed it.
But it didn't.
But it was still alive, somehow. This necromancer, I do not remember his name, I have to actually look it up, but he's not super important. This necromancer then...
you just said that in like 30,000 people over 40k are like sitting there with their like, you know, I'm triggered, you don't remember him.
Honestly, if you do remember the lore that much, good on you. Get a life.
It's like, yeah, listen, no offense. If you're offended for us not knowing the lore, I am the new guy. Don't give me any shit.
But yeah, so this necromancer king basically scooped up this baby and kind of adopted him. Named him Mortarion, Child of Death. And
that's a way to get a name.
Yeah, so he then took little baby Mortarion up to his estate on like one of the highest spires on the planet.
Okay, wait, hang on. So the estate is higher, which means that you said the pollution is worse as you go up.
The toxins are worse.
So this. Okay.
I would imagine that his estate is kind of protected just well enough so that the child would not like instantly keel over. But the estate was also kind of like a prison because Mortarion wasn't allowed to just wander out. So Mortarion gets taught, he gets an education. He gets taught how to fight. He gets taught like battle tactics and artifice. He gets taught how to make things and kill things. And one day, he spies the people down in the valleys. And he's like, who are they? Don't worry about them. Oh, fuck you, adopted dad.
Yeah, curiosity killed cat. Well, I don't think I might know a lot more than a cat.
Yeah, so Mortarion then proceeded to break out of the home, go down there, and find out that these aren't normal people. Now, of course, they didn't trust him because, one, he's a pale, ugly motherfucker. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, good. It kind of blurred for a moment. I didn't know if we got disconnected. So, one, he's a pale, ugly motherfucker, and two, the really important thing, he came down from one of the higher areas. They usually don't have good...
Oh, yeah, so they're probably all like...
Very suspicious.
You're alive. How?
Well, the thing is, the necromancers are able to kind of protect themselves with their psychic powers and such. So they're thinking, you came from up there, you're probably one of them. And they thought this way until one of the other necromancers, because even though there's like a king necromancer, they're not all like unified under him. One of the other necromancers comes by trying to like, oh boy, time to kill some people. And Mortarion then picks up a farming scythe and kills a whole bunch of these guys. Sends every one of these attackers into retreat. The villagers are like, thank you so much. And they start trusting him. So Mortarion then bonds with these people. He starts training them how to fight. He starts making them armor and suits that they can use to survive the toxins. And he starts working to conquer the planet, basically.
See, everything you just said, the only thing I could think of was Doom Guy music hitting and just like hitting it.
I'm pretty sure that when he goes into battle, he would love to have that. But eventually, Mortarion is doing his thing, and he hears about a visitor to one of the Valley people's camps. Can you guess who this visitor was?
No.
I'll give you 3 hints. He's gorgeous, he's golden, and he's looking for a son.
The Emperor?
The Emperor has come by, he has found one of his sons, but Mortarion does not give a fuck.
No.
So Mortarion has no interest in the Imperium, no interest in the Great Crusade, but the Emperor makes a wager with Mortarion. See, a couple of the Primarchs he managed to get to his side through wagers, contests, or things like that nature.
Okay.
He makes a bet with Mortarion. Okay, here's what I'll do, Morty. I call him Morty because one of my other favorite YouTubers on Warhammer content, whenever he's talking about Mortarion, calls him Morty.
Morty.
And that's exactly how he does it too. That's exactly how he does it. But listen, Morty. If you could go to the top and kill your dad, I'll fuck off. But if you can't, you'll come with me on my space adventure. Oh geez, Dad. Oh geez. All right, I'll give it a shot.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do it, Dad.
Turns out.
Morty, you gotta do it.
Turns out, so the wager is if Mortarion can kill his adoptive father, the Emperor will fuck off. But if he can't, Mortarion will join the Emperor for his Great Crusade.
Okay, but his adopted father is the king, I thought you said.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So Mortarion attempts to climb to the highest peak attempts to challenge his father. The problem is, now, this is actually why I think that where Mortarion was housed was not the highest peak, because there's no way he would have even been able to survive leaving that place if it was. Yeah. So basically he climbs to the highest peak. And this armor that he has, that is specifically like designed to handle the toxic atmosphere, starts just like melting off him. His own incredible resilience is not enough. And he's like crawling on the ground at the steps at the foot of this estate, screaming for his adopted father, "Come out and face me!" And he does so. He comes out, and he's about ready to just like kill Mortarion. But once again, someone comes by.
Oh no.
Can you guess who?
Our good old friend Dad.
The Emperor comes by, and basically, just like no issue with the atmosphere, no issue, just walks past Mortarion on the ground, and just slices the adoptive father's head off. Basically, he kill-stealed. And Mortarion hated him ever since.
I probably would be in the same boat. I'd probably hate him as well.
Yeah, so Mortarion, he's lost the bet, but he's willing to uphold his end of the deal. Mortarion is just like, alright, fine. Of course, after they get out of the toxic clouds, like, okay, fine. I lost. I'll join your fucking crusade. And then
to the crusade!
And then he gets put in charge of his legion, the Dusk Raiders.
Dusk Raiders? Is that what you said?
That's what they were originally called.
Okay.
So apparently the Dusk Raiders, and again, I don't know a whole lot about them, but apparently they were really well known for being very tough, very all about the attrition, but also attacking at dusk.
Okay.
So, you know, making use of that low light.
Yeah, so they were able to basically manipulate the, I would say, visibility aspect of strategy.
Yeah, they were able to really capitalize on that, and I think like their armor was like a painted brown to really help with that too.
Alright, so wasn't all flashy like the Death Angels or whatever.
The Blood Angels, yeah. So on that note, a little tangent. I'm the Space Marines. Anyone who's watching this that's been keeping track of my whole offer of if you can guess the chapter of Space Marines I'm doing, you get your name on the minis. That's over with. My army is the Blood Angels. Tangent over. So Mortarion gets put in charge of the Dusk Raiders. And he immediately starts changing them for the worst.
Wait, what?
So you know how the Space Marines armor over time will get a whole bunch of like honors, all kinds of symbols, all kinds of iconography to represent what they've done?
Yeah.
Mortarion was like, nope.
Fuck all that shit.
So the Death Guard, as they were now called, had like unpainted armor. So basically it was like grayish white armor. They were renamed to the Death Guard, and Mortarion started creating a little schism in his legion because they were the Terran-born Death Guard, the original guys, but Mortarion only wanted to recruit from Barbarous.
So he started recruiting the people that he trained, is what you're saying.
See, the people of Barbarous, because of the toxic environment, they were super tough. They were so resilient. And that became like the thing with the Death Guard. Just super resilience.
Okay.
Basically, when it came to environments, nothing you could throw at the Death Guard would slow them down.
Ooh, that could be a real scary thing.
So basically, toxic environments, Death Guard just marching by. Harsh environment, Death Guard just marching by. Impassable terrain, Death Guard just marching by.
Man, that is crazy.
So yeah, that went on for a while. But then, of course, that little clusterfuck that we know as the Horus Heresy kicks off.
Oh, great.
So Mortarion was doing his thing, bringing worlds into compliance, all that jazz. But then Horus, the fucking arch traitor, reaches out to Mortarion like, "Hey, I'm trying to do a little civil war against Dad. Do you want in?" "Yeah."
He's like, "Oh, I didn't forget. I'm in."
Like, there was probably like no convincing necessary.
He's like, "You did not need." He's like, "I will offer you all that." "No, just fucking let me kill him."
"Hey, do
all I want. I don't care."
"Hey, do you want to help betray the Emperor?" "Yeah."
"Yeah, let's do it."
Like, he was probably one of the ones that needed next to no convincing. He was still sore.
I would believe so.
So
imagine you would need any convincing.
So that ended up bringing up a small problem that the traitor legions had. See, not everyone in their legions were turning traitor.
Uh-oh.
Each legion had like a third or so of their space marines who wanted to stay loyal. You can see how this might be an issue if they are trying to launch a civil war.
Yeah. So basically the Space Marines went up against each other, is what you're saying?
Yeah, they went up against each other in a small scale, and then in a much bigger scale.
Okay.
So I believe it was one of the Estevan planets, and I'll verify this for sure, but on one of the Estevan planets, all the traitor legions basically scrambled their guys. Because some squads were like, 9 of these guys want to be traitors, but one of these guys wants to say loyalist. They know which one that is, so we're going to pluck him and put him with this squad full of loyalists, despite the fact that he might have never even talked to any of these guys before. And that's kind of what raised some alarm bells in some of their heads, as they were sent down to a planet altogether.
They're like, I don't know all these people. Why are we all just randomly? Oh.
You ever heard of the Warhammer phrase "exterminatus"?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of something called the Life Eater virus?
Yes, I have heard of that because you've told me about it before, actually.
I think you can come to understand what comes next.
Yeah.
So apparently, a couple of these loyal Astartes though managed to like hide in secure bunkers, because if you can find a bunker that's secure enough, the Life Eater virus won't affect you. The problem is that even after all of this, the traitors realize, okay, this is a problem. We need to take care of them. Send down some guys, have them just fuck shit up, kill these survivors. It was, I think, a loyal Thousand Son that eventually got the information to Malcador the Sigillite, basically the Emperor's best bro. Remember him? Yeah. So basically, it was like a loyal Thousand Son that got the information to Malcador. It was, I think it was a space marine called Nathaniel Garrow of, not the World Eaters, definitely. I want to say it was of the Death Guard. Nathaniel Garrow of the Death Guard, who managed to like bring the traitor legion's actions to one of the other loyalist legions, and kind of raise the alarm, like, hey, Horus has gone traitor.
Okay, so basically all of this was kind of like sneaking up behind the Emperor. The Emperor didn't know everything was about to happen.
Oh no. Horus knew that the element of surprise was going to be super necessary to pull this off. And, yeah, he actually managed to do some pretty significant damage to the Loyalists with the element of surprise. See, at this time, not all of the traitor legions were known to be traitor legions yet. There were a couple traitor legions that were still thought of to be loyal. Which brings us to the Estevan drop site massacre.
Is that where they dropped them all down and just killed all the ones who were loyal?
No, that was before. The drop site massacre is where the Emperor is now like, okay, these guys are traitors, we're going to send in a bunch of our guys, and they're going to be backed up by a bunch of other guys. The other guys were all traitors. The Emperor did not know this yet.
So he's like, I'm gonna send in all these guys and let's back up from these guys. Oh shit, they're all traitors. Oh fuck.
Especially because when the
basically he destroyed his own force by not knowing the intelligence of who was traitor and who was not.
Pretty much.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
What was the name of the units that protected the Emperor?
Oh, the gold-clad guys?
Yeah, what was the names of them?
Those were called the Legio Custodes.
That's it. Yeah. Because you had explained to me a while ago that they were like Space Marines are right here and they're like right here.
A single Custodes can take on like 3 or 4 Space Marines by themselves without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
A single Space Marine could massacre an entire platoon of modern soldiers with their bare hands.
This just gets more and more interesting. However, as much as I want to say we should continue, I think we should split this into more parts. So I think we should stop right here knowing what is going on with the Massacre, and I think the next portion we should talk about the Massacre and how it led down basically the traitors and everything.
Oh, this is just like a little side tangent that we kind of got carried away with. We were still talking about like the Death Guard.
Yeah.
So Death Guard basically are doing their thing. Horus Heresy keeps going on. Eventually, Horus gets his shit kicked in by the Emperor, and gets Control Alt deleted out of existence.
Yeah. Control Alt Delete.
Like that's the best way I can describe how dead this guy was. He got Control Alt deleted out of existence.
That's how you know it's bad.
So the Horus Heresy fails. The traitors are about to be hunted down, so they start running away. The Death Guard are going a little slower, a little bit more reserved, I suppose you could say. So they go into the Eye of Terror, and one of Mortarian's guys named Typhus, he took it upon himself to kill all of his navigators.
Why?
So Mortarian, as you might imagine, with his father being a Psyker Necromancer dickhead, Mortarian hated Psykers.
Oh, and all the navigators were Psykers.
See, Mortarian allowed the navigators. He accepted them because he needed them. Thing is, Mortarian is a Psyker. He did not know it at the time, though.
So, when he killed all the Psykers, did he know?
Mortarian didn't kill the Psykers. A guy named Typhus did.
Okay. Was Typhus under Mortarian?
Typhus was one of Mortarian's guys. Typhus basically was now a follower of Nurgle, and Typhus was also a Psyker. So Typhus was like, hey, I just killed all our Psykers, but I will happily navigate us through the warp if you don't kill me. Because you can guarantee...
What did Mortis do?
Mortarian was like, I don't think he knew he was a Psyker yet, but Mortarian's whole thing was like, oh, if I didn't need you, I would splatter you across these walls. Navigate. Get up there and navigate.
So Mortarian was just like, Mortarian's like, oh, you cheeky little bitch.
You little fucker.
Alright. You get on up there and do your job before I fucking slice your balls off.
So, here's the thing though. Typhus, like I said, was a Nurgle worshipper. Mortarian was not tracking this.
So Mortarian has not found out yet that he is no longer
his, yeah.
So now, okay. So now I can see how the dynamic will change.
I think you can understand also where Typhus took Mortarian's ship. Straight to Nurgle. Straight to Papa Nurgle.
Talk about the biggest middle finger to you ever.
Oh, it gets worse. Because of course it does. So, as they're going, they enter Nurgle's realm, and everyone on the ship starts getting riddled with those debilitating diseases. And we're talking diseases that can make a space marine who is psychologically conditioned to ignore pain have them writhing around screaming in agony. Oh, you remember that phrase I told you earlier?
Yeah.
It can always get worse. Here's where it gets even worse. The Barbarous Death Guard. The Terran Death Guard were like mostly the loyal ones, so they got rid of. The Barbarous Death Guard, they were resilient, even more so with the Astartes upgrades. They couldn't die from this so easily. And simply shooting them in the head, simply shooting them in the head was not enough to kill them either.
Well, bullets, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna work. I guess I'm giving my soul up.
Nurgle then does his little whisper thing like, give yourselves to me, I'll take away the pain. And Mortarion is like, fine. Fucking fine.
He's like, just sweet relief.
So, which brings me to...
So, can I ask this, during all this, did Mortarion find out Typhus did this to him?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he did, because Mortarion and Typhus right now are not on good terms. Like, at all. Mortarion hates Typhus.
Damn. Well, as much as I would like to continue, unfortunately, I feel that I have run out of time for me to be able to continue the podcast. However, I would like to dive deeper into the Death Guard sooner, so why don't we make a second part for this later, where we can dive deeper into the Death Guard and how the Plague God basically takes control and what he does with the Guard.
Well, we're pretty much done with that already.
Oh, well, I guess we'll move on to the next Guard, the next podcast.
Sure, but I do want to point this one thing out, though.
Okay.
The Death Guard were all about being tough and tanky when they were regular Astartes. As Plague Marines, it's even worse.
Are they even more tanky?
Abso-fucking-lutely. Like, Mortarion is now a demon Primarch. So now he was already a demigod, but now he's like a super powerful demon demigod.
Oh, God.
And he's a playable model. You can have Mortarion on the tabletop in your demon army.
Okay, and if that happens, I guess that you're pretty fucked.
Oh, Death Guard is a pretty popular army in tournaments, and I'm fairly certain that quite a few of those armies have Mortarion. He is... I was looking at him, I was doing some pretend battles between him and some of my units. I do not know how you kill this fucker!
Well, then I guess it'd be a good idea to leave it to some of our followers, if they're Warhammer fans. Maybe they might have ideas of how, leave a comment in the description if you have an idea on how maybe to adjust your team to be able to fight against this. But judging by what you've told me, I really don't know if there's much you could do.
Okay, some of his abilities. Okay, so he has a 4-up invulnerable save. So that means that if you were to target him with like missiles and big ass lasers that can melt through tanks, if he rolls a 4 or higher on his saving throw, he just ignores that.
It's like, haha, ignore damage, bitch.
Oh, it gets even better. He has an ability called Revoltingly Resilient, where if he's about to take damage, he can roll a dice, and on a 5-up, he doesn't take that damage. Oh, it gets even better!
Oh god, there's more!
His other really important ability, so that was Revoltingly Resilient. his ability Disgustingly Resilient. Whenever he's about to take damage, he can subtract 1 from that damage.
Oh, jeez.
And since most of the weapons in 40k are 1 point of damage, it's to a minimum of 1, so if it's only 1 point, he still takes it. But if it's like a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer, it's reduced by 1.
So he's a soup. Basically, what you're telling me is, on the board, he's basically a big piece of, goo that just absorbs everything.
With his 18 health points.
Shit.
I don't know of any other model that has anywhere near that many health points.
God dang.
He has a massive health pool.
Crazy.
He has a massive health point pool. He's as tough as has some tanks. He has ridiculous saving throws, and he can subtract damage if you actually manage to hurt him.
Damn. So basically, he's a mega tank. So.
I legitimately don't know if I could fucking kill this motherfucker if I were to fight him.
Well, leave a comment down below if you think you might have an answer to that problem.
But
other than that, honestly, man, I gotta say that you've definitely given me a lot to look into and think about, because of course I'm probably gonna go do my research on this kind of stuff on my own.
Yeah.
But what I'll probably do is every time you talk about something, I'll go do research on that particular thing, so I don't indulge myself too far into topics that we can actually continue to do these podcasts.
Exactly.
Especially because it's hilarious for all of you guys to watch my response when I have absolutely no fucking idea what he's talking about. And some of the stuff I'm sitting here just trying to think, I'm like, oh my god.
it is brutal. I think that with your interest now peaked, one of the next ones we could probably do is discussing the factions themselves, like a brief overview of the factions that belong to the various races.
Okay, let's do that next time.
That would definitely be a 2-parter, because the Imperium of Man alone has 9 factions, and one of them is the fucking Space Marines.
Okay, then why don't we do the Imperium of Man next time?
Yeah, we can do the Imperium of Man factions, give a brief overview of all the guys that they have. I'll look up some more quotes, because some of them are pretty damn good.
Okay.
So,
alright.
Yeah, I think that's all. That's pretty good, actually. I think we've had a bit of fun with this. It's been almost an hour and a half.
Jesus. I mean, you guys can already see, I don't have my lights on in my room. The sun is going down.
Oh, they can't see us.
What?
They can't see us. We're going to use that podcast artwork that I showed you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, well, if you guys can't see it then, but, in my own room, when we started this, it was nice and bright. Now it's getting really dark.
Yeah, it is visibly darker. But yeah. So down in the description will be a list of potential names for this podcast. So anyone who's watching this and wants to weigh in on which one they want to have as the podcast name, go ahead and give your opinions down below.
Yep. I agree with everything. If anybody makes a decision on what they think it should be called, I understand. Like I said, I'm the noob here, and I don't know everything, so this is more up for Wolf to make a decision upon. I'm just kind of being introduced into all this stuff. And so there's 2 things I asked. Please don't be harsh on me about not knowing something or not remembering something. Currently, I'm in college, so I have a lot of other things going on. So if I seem distracted or out of something, it's probably because something's going on there. But at the same time, the second part to that is I don't invest my time as much, especially into Warhammer. When I learned about Warhammer, I did, my brief research, but I realized there was so much about it that I could not, I just couldn't sit down and understand. And I'm fairly good at making sure I understand things, but there's just so much to it.
There's so much.
Having Wolf here is probably the blessing I could ever ask for this, and even more so is that Wolf, you're able to devote a little bit more time to specific things, especially when it comes to the channel.
Oh yeah.
So having you here is very helpful. So please do not criticize me too much if I get a name wrong or if I say something wrong or any of that.
Everyone started out not knowing anything about Warhammer. They got to the point where they then understood Warhammer.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it on this front.
Yep, I think we're all good.
You had some fun learning about the Stinky Bois of Warhammer?
Stinky Bois, yeah. Yeah, I had a good time. I cannot wait to get into the Imperium of Man.
So yeah, once we get that done, we can start working on like the alien factions, and then start working on like the chaos factions, and then we can start getting into more like the detailed meat and potatoes of each faction.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, I think that's a call it. I think that'd be good to call it now.
Yeah, so in that case, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below. If you have suggestions for future videos, drop them in the comments. If you have some input on the name of the podcast, go ahead and give your vote in the comments down below. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you like the artwork being used, let me see if I can't pull up the actual artist name. So
I want to say I saw this guy's artwork because we commissioned him to do artwork for the podcast, and let me tell you, when I first saw the image, I was just like, what the hell? It is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'd love to give a shout out to this person, and especially if you guys want to commission artwork for yourselves, definitely go check him out.
Yeah, so he's on Fiverr. His name is Haraartes. I'll leave a link down below in the description. But yeah, his artwork, we're using it for this channel, and it is phenomenal. He was able to get pretty much everything we wanted. Reaper here, he could only like give me bits and pieces of what he wanted his character to look like. And how satisfied are you with your character?
And he nailed it. He nailed it. I mean, it is absolutely cool as hell.
It was phenomenal. But yeah, so that's been us. I've been Alpha White Wolf.
And I'm Axel Reaper.
We're signing off. We hope you enjoyed.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.